We want to make sure clients are getting the most out of their relationship with District H. And I think we can all agree that the other 23 hours of the day are equally, or if not more important than the hour of exercise that you spend with us. So we want to make sure the efforts you're putting into the gym, you're seeing or getting the full benefit out of it by addressing the other 23 hours of the day. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Real Training Better Living podcast. I'm your host, Tommy. I have my co-host, Chris, here with me. And today we're very excited to announce our new nutrition coaching program. Now, nutrition coaching has always been a pillar of District H. It's kind of expanded into more of a holistic health coaching because there's more that goes into well-rounded health than just food, sleep, stress, mindset, social connections, things like that. So it's always been a pillar of the business. There's been a couple of different evolutions of the business. And what I'm excited about is for the first time ever, we have the entire team doing the exact same thing. For a while, I've had some specialists. I was doing it haphazardly for a while. We've tried a few different variations of more meal plan type stuff to macros to all these things, right? And we've landed on a new program that focuses more on holistic habits. I've always had a great relationship with HSN Nutrition. They're excellent at what they do. It's a great strategic partnership for us. But instead of me telling everybody what the benefit of this type of approach to nutrition is, Chris, I would like for you to speak to maybe why this is probably the best fit for most of the members that come to District H.
Yeah, I was a little skeptical going into HSN, but after going through the program and looking at how they approach nutrition and how they have the process, can't think of the word, but how the process is dictated for clients is, I think, a very easy approach that, again, it's habit-based and it keeps things as simple as possible, where it's like, we're going to focus on one thing. And whether you're successful in the first week of doing that, or if it takes you 3 weeks, maybe it takes you like 6 months to get this one thing under control that you're trying to focus on. That's the thing that we will focus on, if that makes sense. So as an example, let's just say, you're a new dad. I have my child for, two-time dad at this point for you, and 9-month-old for me. It's if there's something where we want to work on like sleep focus or food focus, and it's as simple as that. It's like, I want to have like a good like veggie balance at my dinner plate. That's what you'll focus on. And that can be like 3 times a week, 7 times a week. So it's very curated to what you are capable of doing in the moment and throughout your week. So it's we take a very critical kind of eye to everything, make sure that the client is on board. So I think it's a very well-rounded approach to it. It's
simple. It puts the client in the driver's seat, right? It's not like us telling them what to do. It's more of like, hey, based on what you're currently doing, what do you want to focus on? Yeah. And through a little bit of education, they're kind of like, based on this conversation, probably need to focus on sleep, or I probably need to focus on getting more protein in, or whatever it is, right? And we break it down into small, simple steps so that it can be highly achievable. Mm-hmm. We've flirted with this in the past of like trying to do the more complex earlier on, because I think as coaches, we want them to see results quicker, mm-hmm. which they do. But the trade-off of that is long-term sustainability. Mm-hmm. And so do you want to speak to that real quick of like, if you were coaching a brand new client and we're taking this more gradual approach to like habit stacking, building this really strong foundation that we can maybe go do some exciting stuff in the future, what's the trade-off of going a little bit slower, right?
So a really, really good question. So trade-off of going a little bit slower is like, yeah, your results are going to be delayed, but it's like, we're in a marathon, we're not a sprint. Like this is for the rest of your life that you maintain these habits for, which is something that I strongly believe in, is to maintain this so that it's just basically subconscious level thinking. So yeah, it goes a little bit slower, but you just see consistency. And for me, like following along with my coach, it's just kind of been eye-opening to see some of the habits that I have had kind of inherently ingrained in me, and trying to break some of those. Because there's some bad habits, some very good habits of mine that I have, and I am seeing a lot of good progress. So for members of ours that want to focus on like one small thing, whether it's sleep or have a little bit more veggies in their diet, like it's very simple. It's not intrusive make sure it's not intrusive on your life, make sure that it's repeatable. And then we can graduate from there to the next thing. So it's like, as long as you're successful with one thing, then we can stack. So then you're just layering everything. And the process of, or thought process of like, oh, it's like 21 days to make a habit. I think all that's kind of like BS. It's like, you need thousands and thousands and thousands of reps and hours of doing this thing, making it part of your life, because I can't remember what the numbers are, but 90% of what we do is subconscious thought, and then it's like 9% is conscious and 1% is something entirely different, if I'm even getting those numbers.
And to your point, people can do hard things for a certain period of time, right? Like I think of 75 hard, or like what else is the other, right? But it's good to test these things through different seasons of life as well, where it's like you're going to have periods where you're really dialed in. You don't have to travel for work, no vacation coming up. Like you're in control of everything, but then you're going to get challenged, and you're always going to be limited by kind of like that ground level, basic, ingrained habit that you have in your life. So if you can stress test it across multiple environments or seasons of life as well, it's just going to make it that much more like potent and ingrained in your life, right?
Yeah. And I love that kind of comparison to 75 hard, because it's like, that's meant to be done for 75 days. And then you take like a few months off from like, thinking about it. And people are like, no, I'm going to do 75 days for 365 days.
2 times in a row. Yeah.
Believe me, you missed that one photo on day 60. You're not going to repeat it. That's my experience. So I love the layering. It's like, this is our fallback position at all times, is like, we're going to get 8 hours, or set like new parents. Like we're going to focus on trying to just get 6, and then probably going to be a broken 6, but 6 hours, and then stack from there. Get like a really nutritious dinner in, like focus on one really good meal per day, because you might be just scrambling the rest of the time, and then the next layer, and then the next layer, and then stress test it like you mentioned, because then you're just like, you feel really confident in your capabilities, but you can always fall back and be like, I know this works for me. I know this is sustainable. I know I feel really good doing this mentally, physically, emotionally, etc.
And I like how you said that, like your back position, because I think our job as coaches is to slowly and gradually raise that fallback position just a little bit, right? Like, hey, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but you're gradually raising that floor of what normal sustainable health looks like, whether that's from a fitness standpoint, nutrition standpoint. You kind of know how you can turn that switch on, turn it off, and not go through this. I think the crux of the matter for us in doing this more gradual approach versus like meal plans or macros is there's always this yo-yo effect, or this fallback position of like, we made a lot of progress, but then the fallback is almost equally as aggressive. Like, it's just like, oh, we crushed it. Oh, no, I didn't really learn anything.
It's like, I haven't eaten McDonald's in 90 days, and now I'm going to eat it for 90 days in a row. It's just, chaos.
So the trade-off here, you guys, and what we're trying to get at is like, it's going to be a more gradual approach where you're in the driver's seat, but in a perfect world, the gradual approach will continually allow you to progress and climb this mountain where that fallback position is highly unlikely to happen. That's the goal. So more gradual, take a long-term focus. You're still going to lose weight. You're still going to feel good. You're still going to perform well. All those things are going to be true. Now, if we were to segment this out, actually, before we even jump into that, Chris, maybe walk somebody through the process from Chris, I'm interested, to talking to you, to what the weekly cadence, just walk people through that real quick. What is that going to look like?
Yeah. So this is a really good, just like kind of introductory to everything. So let's just say Tommy, he's like, hey, Chris, I want to work on some nutrition, focus on some good habits, because, I'm getting stressed out from opening 2 locations and having 2 kids and yada, yada.
Very real.
And so we would then have like an hour and 15-minute consultation where we go over like pretty much every aspect of Tommy's life, what's like a day in the life of Tommy look like, from waking up to going to sleep, what supplements is he taking? What does his meals look like? What is his stress level? Who's his support system? So like 5 people that are closest to you, who are they? And getting everybody that's close to you on board with your decision. So like, let's just say, I had 3 more kids that were of like a teenage age or like adult age, and my parents lived a little bit closer by. Be like, are these people on board? Is my wife on board? And if those people are not, how can we get them on board so that and make it clear to them that this is important to you? Because that's something that I've seen in objections in nutrition calls in the past, is people just not being on board with supporting their partners, which is like crazy to me, but it's a very real reality for a lot of people. Maybe not in our facility, but for handfuls of people there. Definitely is. Once we get through that initial consult, we go over like, oh, Tommy wants to work on drinking 72 ounces of water with 1 element per day. And like, that is literally as basic as we can go. And I highly recommend people doing something very basic, like maybe 2 fistfuls of veggies, something like that. So one habit, and you'll be in contact with your nutrition coach. We'll do check-ins at a specified time that you agree on. And again, this is client led. So if you're like, oh, I don't think I can do 2 fistfuls of veggie 3 times a week, it's like, all right, then we'll come up with a different plan, a different habit that you're very, you feel very confident with. And if you're not like a 9-10 out of confidence on that habit, we probably won't go with that. And we might, delve a little deeper, find something that will create a lot of success for you. Once the habit's in place, we are just going to keep following through on that habit for X amount of time. Check-in, I think every week right now is our check-in period. If you feel really confident, you're like, I've been nailing this like 80% or more consistency. And that could be like 3 times a week and you're hitting that every day. That would be 80% or more. And you're like, let's do 7 days a week. That's this step up from the habit, or we layer on something else. So there's a lot of different avenues we can go. And if you've been to a lot of my sessions, how I navigate fitness for people in large group, it's very similar with how we can go about nutrition, where it's like, we're going to add a rep or take a rep away.
Yeah, and I think the reason why we decided to kind of bolt on and partner with Healthy Steps Nutrition is because, first of all, Nicola Coyne runs an incredible business. She's just an incredible leader. She's been doing it for a while. She's a dietitian by trade, coming more from the clinical background, but she also owns a CrossFit gym down in Florida. But I think in order for this to be scalable, cost-effective wise, but also effective, is there has to be 3 things. There has to be exactly what you just said, where it's like a prescriptive model that's client-led. You're not telling the client what to do. You're guiding the conversation for them to choose what is realistic for them. The second thing is we have access to an app that allows you to not only put in like information, education, recipes, check-ins, like there's a lot of resources that are going to be scalable and available. So the clients are getting the most out of this relationship. They're either learning something new, they're being held accountable. And then when I say held accountable, Chris is just checking in to say, hey, like, how's the week going? Like, were we running into any bottlenecks? What's going, is there anything I can send you to help out? And then the last piece of this is just that motivational interviewing part of like it just being client led. Like you're in control of your health. You know what's good for you. We're just guiding the conversation and just asking really good questions.
Yeah. I kind of doubling down on what Tommy said, there's an incredible amount of ownership on the client's part, where it's not just like, hey, you're not eating, your 180 grams of protein today, Tommy. Like, what's up with that? It's like, how can I support you? Is there something that I can do to help you? Or is this just like, life got in the way? So again, it's pretty heavily led by the client themselves. And we're just here to help you along, give you tools to, how can we optimize your day? Go from there.
Yeah. And I think balancing out accessibility from a price point standpoint, but also effectiveness, HSN has been wonderful and just giving us those resources. Other things that are available through them is we can do a Dutch test if we want to check out hormones. We can do an oats test if we want to check out like metabolic function. So those are also available because they are dietitians, so they can legally provide that. It's not us doing it, but we have access to those resources. Next thing I wanted to pivot into is kind of like, we've talked about this briefly on a podcast before, but kind of like layering in, if you and I were building let's call it the progressive overload model to like habits-based nutrition, right? That foundational level starts with just 6 pillars of health and consistency, right? You want to just speak to like why we have to, like, we're not jumping to macros and calories. We're starting there. Why do you think that's important? Very base layer.
I think there's a handful of people in the gym, maybe you will resonate with this, but like speaking from my experience, it's like, yeah, you can work out as hard as you can, but there is nothing that's going to supplement 8 hours of sleep and enough calories to, properly increase your muscle mass, make sure you have enough glycogen stores to do the workouts that we're doing. No supplements, and that you can get very like hemmed up quickly just from being like, oh, creatine, protein powder, whatever, etc. It's like people ask me all the time, they're like, oh, what protein powder do you use? I don't use protein powder. I try to eat almost entirely whole foods because like protein powder makes me want to like vomit when I drink it. So kind of going down that holistic step of like progressive overload of nutrition is focusing on like sleep. Are you recovered enough? Are you working out too much? Are you working out too little? And just taking a stepwise approach. And again, it's like we have a lot of parents at the gym. If you are just overloaded from like your work-life balance, taking care of your kids, that is where we're going to focus. It's not like, can you get into the gym? Because And again, it could be a cliche saying at this point, but there's 23 hours outside of the gym. You're only in with us 1 hour, 3, 4, 5 times a week. That's nothing in the grand scheme of your life. And are you focused on the foundations of your health, aka sleep, etc., stress management, going from there?
So like similar to learning how to move properly, it's kind of like if you don't do the basics and learn the basics well, you're already starting off by creating an artificial ceiling of what you're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't address these basic building blocks, there will always be a cap to
Yeah.
what you're capable of doing beyond that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, in reality, guys, we're not saying like, you know, this is going to be years in this stage. It's probably like 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
It's just like very foundational things.
Yes.
This is kind of clean up the other 23 hours of the day. Once we go beyond that, we could start getting into things like the plate method, which I really like because it's a very simple approach to understanding like whole meals, not even getting into macros or calories yet, but just looking at your plate and being like, is it balanced from a nutrient standpoint? You want to speak to that real quick?
Yeah. It's so I love the plate method. I love the hand portion method. I have gone through a month of weighing and then hand portioning my food. So it's very, very accurate. Takes a little bit of figuring some things out, but it just gives you a very balanced plate. Is your plate colorful? Or do you have lean protein sources on it? Do you have variety in your food? Because it can be very boring to just keep eating chicken breast, broccoli, and rice all the time, or chicken breast, broccoli, and potatoes all the time. So just focusing on like, give yourself some variety. What foods like fill your cup as well as fill your plate, fill your stomach, so that you feel good about what you're eating. Because if you're eating protein powder and cranberry juice all the time as like your carb and protein source, not gonna have a good time. Those don't go well together. And also, again, I know I keep talking from the parent standpoint, but like, there's no way that I would want to get out of scale, weigh my food all the time. So I literally just look at my plate and I put my food on a plate because Alyssa and I got into a habit of just eating like in kind of a family style approach where we just like make the food, we put it on a cutting board, and then we eat it from like the pot or whatever. And now we're getting back into a habit of putting our food on a plate, making sure it's well balanced, and then going and sitting at the table with Eleanor and just start the process now. And it is like, it's so rewarding because number one, nostalgia of like eating around my table as a kid with my parents. And number two, setting that now so that we're just kind of like, it's going to be a no brainer going into like year 2, 3, 4 with Eleanor and subsequent kids.
Yeah. So basic habits, consistency, plate method, eating whole meals. Then we kind of venture into those typical bugaboos that people run into: travel, vacation, alcohol, eating out. So it's okay, cool. Like we could do this in a controlled environment throughout the week. Now let's try to test you and see. It doesn't have to be perfect, you guys. Like if you're going to go out and enjoy a meal, enjoy the meal.
Yeah,
like if you're going to go spend money on like nice food, like
Yeah.
fully enjoy that meal. All we're saying is, can we just make that approach a little bit better? Right? Like, is there something we can do within our control to say, hey, you know what? Instead of, a heaping thing of mashed potatoes, how about we do the asparagus instead? Just just small stuff like that.
Exactly.
You want to speak to that?
Yeah, it's so when we were going through the HSN process, we had nutrition coaches that were coaching us through it, and just so happened that Alyssa and I went down to Port Aransas for the 4th of July weekend. So I was there sending photos of my food to the Vanessa, who was my nutrition coach during the whole process. And I felt like really good about it because I'm like, look, I'm having a lean protein source, which is like either fish or steak or whatever. We had a vegetable medley or whatever the veggies were, and then some sort of carb that was mixed in with it all. And so I'm sending that. And it was also just very fun for Alyssa and me because we were in restaurants with a 7-month-old at the time, and she's eating the stuff that we have on our plate. And we felt no guilt about like what we're giving her because it was just like, we would eat this. We feel good about eating this. And Alyssa and I, because of where we live, we're not really around any restaurants. So we're like trying to give Eleanor as good whole food sources as possible. So you just are, again, ingraining this in you. It's a habit now for us to be eating whole food sources. And so when we're out at a restaurant, there's no qualms about what we're eating. And like, if I want to get a bacon cheeseburger, I'm getting a bacon cheeseburger. There's like, I'm not stopping myself.
And again, it's like, it's meant to be, guys, like we're developing these skills. Now let's test those skills in those environments where usually people fumble a little bit, where it's just kind of like that mentality of like, I am perfect Monday through Friday. Come Saturday, everything goes out the window. And this is constant, like, you bring up a great point too, of just like being guilt-free about your choices, just being like, hey, like I'm in control. I don't feel bad for the decisions that I'm making. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and another part of the nutrition program that I really like is that we're not trying to take things away from you. We're trying to add things. So going back to like alcohol, or just everything, the train goes off the rails on the weekends. It's okay to have some alcohol. It's not okay to get blackout drunk every night. So have a glass of wine, have a bottle of wine that you share with like your wife or your spouse or whoever it is. Obviously within reason. Try not to make that the habit of having a bottle of wine every weekend, within reason, as with all things. And then, have a scoop of ice cream. It's okay to have a scoop of ice cream. Like, follow the portion size.
Yeah.
It's, everybody, just read the food labels, know what you're getting yourself into, make an informed decision, go from there.
And honestly, guys, if everything that we had discussed up until this point, if you just do that consistently, you're already like 95% of the way there to long-term sustainable health. You will naturally start to lose weight once you pair it with movement and all that stuff. It'll be slow and gradual, but it will become effortless for you to be able to kind of navigate these episodes in your life where you will be challenged. Now, let's say we want to get more specific around things. We've adopted the hand method to portion control, right? Just understanding like, hey, if we want to delve into portions and macronutrients I don't want to say at a scientific level, but at a somewhat accurate level, what do you like about the hand method compared to things you've tried in the past? And why do you think it's going to work well for the District H members?
So the hand portion method is literally meant to be a proportional method to your body size. So if you're a bigger person, you're going to have naturally bigger hands. Like, we'll use Summer as an example. Summer's a smaller woman. She has small hands. If she follows the method, it's going to be appropriate to her body size. And for me, if I follow the hand portion method, it's going to be proportionate to my body size. So it's people overcomplicate it by being like, oh, well, my palm's smaller than my spouse's palm. It's like, that's okay. That's the size of your plate should be. If we're talking about like a palm of protein versus 2 fists of veggies. So, kind of going through the plate method a little bit, basically half your plate's veggies, a quarter of it's carbs and fats, and then a quarter of it is lean protein source. And obviously you can make some adjustments based on, like what your goals are. Maybe you need some more carbs because the veggies are there to fill you up, provide you micronutrients, fiber, etc. But for me, I eat typically a little bit less veggies because I'll just get full because I eat more protein. So I just, do make best judgments. And again, utilize your nutrition coach. So if you're working with me, be like, here's my plate, send me your plate of food. If it's 1 time a day, 2 time a day, I typically try to do it once per day because mornings it's not going to happen. Lunchtime probably not going to happen either. So I just try to follow it. Again, going back to habits, 1 time a day of doing this and do my best kind of summation of like, is this look like a well-balanced plate? And then I'll kind of take things away, or maybe I'll have a second plate and like add some food back. So that's more or less the hand plate or hand portion method.
And really what we're talking about, you guys, at this stage is like everything up into the hand method is really like, hey, just for great long-term holistic health and longevity, like that solves the problem. And now we're starting to kind of like tilt into performance, which is excellent. Like I always tell you guys have heard me say this on the podcast too, like District H is not just like a health facility. Like we do tilt into performance. We want to have those discussions with you if that's what you want to go explore. And so if you want more control over your performance, whether that's body composition or fueling yourself, now we're starting to kind of like tilt that way a little bit, right? Lose a little bit more weight. Maybe we want to bulk. Maybe we just want to maintain and just be as lean as we possibly can in a healthy, balanced way.
Yeah.
That's a great long-term sustainable approach. The step after that is now we can start to get into the more specifics around nutrient timing for performance and maybe more specific weighing and measuring for performance. Now, I say this with a caveat, you guys, like we can't just jump to this stage of the like, this is like the icing on top. This is the last 1% if you're really chasing something. Do you want to speak to that real quick in terms of like how we can start to finesse this with not trying to major in the minors, but like if you really need to go get those marginal gains, this is what it could look like for you.
Yeah. So those, and again, it's like marginal gains, and it's going to take I still think it takes a long time to even see the benefits of those marginal gains. I tell members at the gym all the time about my 3 months of like really trying to gain weight because I've always been like a hard gainer of like muscle mass. And it was 3 months of like tracking and measuring everything. And if you're trying to gain weight / improve performance, and I was doing this simultaneously, You're going to be eating from sun up to sundown, and it's not going to be clean food, which again, like I wish I had some more foundational stuff in place at that time. So when I came out of there, I was just like, I don't even want to like eat food, and versus like just have a balanced plate. And it's as simple as that. But yeah, you're going to be weighing, measuring, nutrient timing, like especially carbs before and after workouts specifically, because if you're not getting carbs within like 30 minutes to an hour of your workout, you will feel the difference. And like speaking again from experience, if I had it like 2-3 hours prior to my workout, I could feel just a massive dip in my performance compared to like getting, just some simple carbs, whether it was like gummy worms or like a couple apples before you work out, helps a lot. And you feel so much better by having some of those carbs prior to.
And going back, guys, like none of what Chris said matters unless
Doesn't matter.
8 hours of sleep consistently, whole foods, like full balanced meals. Like we're talking about the very edges of performance. And for some people at our gym, like that matters to you, and that's excellent. That's awesome. And we want to support you in it as long as it's built on a healthy foundation. And then for some of us who want to go explore like, high rocks or marathons, or which are completely different fueling strategies, just given how the length of time, but like that stuff matters. It really does. Making sure if that's what you want to go conquer, like we have to have that discussion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as Tommy mentioned, if you do 3 to 6 months of foundational habit building, and then you're like, okay, I'm feeling really good. And again, we can always expedite things. If you're feeling really good, you're being successful with the habit. So it's like, it might not be 3 months. It could be like 2.5, 2 months. I would still say like follow through for 3 months, like really ingrain it as part of your being. And then we can start going about nutrient timing, things of that nature, because talking about like marathons, it's like you have to eat during a marathon or a century bike ride. If you're not, you're just going to like completely gas out, have a bad time. And nutrient timing is one of those things where it's like you have a couple of different schools of thought where it's people are like, you need to get your protein, carb, fat right after working out. And for me, I liked it better a little bit beforehand. And that can be also a habit that we even go into like with how we stack habits, because one of mine at the start of like the coaching process and training us up on the HSN method was to have a protein, carb, fat snack. Cause I typically always lean into protein, fat, or carb, protein as my snacks. And I wanted a more well-rounded approach to it. And I would have those in the morning before I started my workout. And even just something simple like that, for me, cause I typically don't eat breakfast, was crucial to like even just seeing for me progress in my workouts when I do get to train.
Yeah. And then the last piece of this, you guys, like what I think of as not necessarily like the tip of the spear, but where we can go a layer deeper with this is like part of my job as the leader is be thinking about 1, 3, 5-year visions for District H. And just given what we have access to now in terms of technology and applying a client-centric coach-client relationship type habit building approach, is we're going to be delving into more of the blood work, hormone work, nutrigenomic work of really individualizing this experience for clients. Because in my experience, if we ran like blood panels early on, it's going to give us a lot of information. A lot of that stuff that comes up in the blood panels, if it's coming back like there's areas of opportunity for improvement, can be solved through everything that you have just laid out. We're focused on sleep and stress and eating and consistency. But you will also get to a point where we can't solve all problems through lifestyle and nutrition. Mm-hmm. Like there are things genetically about us we're predisposed to. Like I before we turned the camera on, I told you like I genetically have high LDL cholesterol and I'm naturally more inflamed than the average person. So like I am a walking heart attack, or I'm set up to be a walking heart attack. So I have to be mindful about omega-3 supplementation and like some very specific nutraceuticals that help with things like inflammation, LDL cholesterol, like all of those things without getting into pharmaceuticals. But we can now start incorporating that information to take it to another level of like, hey, look, you've done all the right things. We're performing well. We're doing all the things. You're just genetically predisposed to some stuff. Let's introduce small things that we can do to address that as best as we can. Do you want to speak to that real quick?
Yeah, this is can be a very sensitive topic, and something that Tommy, myself, Trevor are trying to do is also coordinate with medical professionals, because that's kind of like mine and Trevor's skill set is to work with doctors' offices, and that's something we'll eventually graduate to. But if you have genetic predispositions, it's good to know that ahead of time so that when you're getting into something, you're like, you will see some biomarker shifts, like your blood pressure improves, your heart rate drops down instead of being like constantly on the high end of normal. And those are things that can be changed, but having, genetic predisposition to have high LDL, that's something that only medication may change. Like I was on keto and my LDL like went down and my HDL went up. So it was like a complete anomaly as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. But there's things that you need to understand about how your body works that can only be done in a doctor's office, getting some blood work done. Start talking about testosterone. We can go on like an hour-long episode of just that and how men are like starting to go into the thought process of like, I need TRT. No, your testosterone has a very wide range when you look at it on a reference scale. And if you're on the low end of normal and you feel like, oh, I'm fatigued, I'm this, I'm that, like, okay, well, let's look at all your sleep. Let's focus on those holistic health habits first, and then we can start talking about TRT, because there are risks to it, specifically cardiovascular. And if you don't have a good training environment, you don't have a good sleep environment, you're constantly stressed out, TRT is not going to be the problem solver that you think it is.
And just to caveat all this, you guys, it's not to say all of a sudden Chris and I are calling ourselves medical professionals, functional nutritionists, dietitians. We're not. But we have partners in those areas, and we also have access to things like Inside Tracker and NBX Wellness, like nutrigenomic tests, things like that. And we're not saying that we are diagnosing or prescribing, but we have the partners that can, and then we just take a habits-based approach with bringing that into your life. So for example, if I was your nutrition coach, and we're looking at my plate, you would just say, hey, Tommy, based on your biomarkers, like probably need to lean a little bit more Mediterranean-esque with this plate, right? Like I want to see a little bit more fish and make sure we got health. Like that's where we can add value. We're not saying you need to do the Mediterranean diet. We have medical professionals and partners that can do that for us, but all we're doing is the coaching aspect of it, of like, okay, now we'll coach you through incorporating that into your life. Yeah. That's essentially it. So I mean, we're super pumped. It's officially launched, so we want you guys to be able to have access to that. If you're interested in learning more, book a call with any of the coaches. They're all certified in delivering this type of nutrition coaching. And again, this is coming from a place of, we want to make sure clients are getting the most out of their relationship with District H. And I think we can all agree that the other 23 hours of the day are equally, or if not more important than the hour of exercise that you spend with us. So we want to make sure the efforts you're putting into the gym, you're seeing or getting the full benefit out of it by addressing the other 23 hours of the day. And with that, you guys, we'll see you on our next episode.